Hey, yo, airplane collectors, welcome to another model review. It's your host Ray. In today's review, I'll be going over the NG model 1:400 scale Norwegian Boeing 7879 Dreamliner in the Freddie Mercury tail. This model was released in July of 2022, and I just got a hold of it today. So this video will consist of a short discussion of the box, then an in-depth analysis of the model's features, and at the end of the video, I'll give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. So let's get this started. Alright, so here's the box. It's 16 centimeters lengthwise, 16 centimeters tall, and 5.5 centimeters wide, and it's consistent with the other NG model 787 boxes. And I'll show you around the box, so just get a good look at it. Box art is pretty interesting. However, in my opinion, it's very disorganized. It looked like that it came out of a landslide and it had no escape from reality. As in, it's very complicated. It has a lot of things on it. It should be a bit more plain, in my opinion. No pun intended. And of course, here's the Freddie Mercury portrait. Since this model was released in 2022, it does have the Collector Rewards Program card, and here it is in the green color here. And here's the model itself. The fuselage length is 15.6 centimeters, the wingspan is 15 centimeters, and from the ground to the top of the vertical stabilizer, it's 4.3 centimeters tall. I believe it's 4.2 centimeters tall. My bad. Alright, starting up the review with the front part of the fuselage. Here's the nose section of the aircraft in its bright red color. Looks pretty good. Nose shape looks solid, and there's lots of printed detail up here, and I have no complaints so far. Everything looks good, and as we move down the fuselage, we can see the red part end, then the blue band, and then we transition to the white part of the fuselage. Printed detail remains pretty consistent throughout. Lots of detail to see. And as we move to the rear of the aircraft here, you can see the registration, and overall looks pretty good, no complaints so far. Here's the vertical stabilizer, and here we can see the portrait of Freddie Mercury himself, the lead singer of the rock band Queen, and here it says British rock legend, and everything looks good here. Printed detail looks pretty good, colors seem consistent, and I have no complaints. Here's the right side of the aircraft, so I'll just show you guys here. Colors look pretty good. The printing detail and the colors remain consistent with the left side. Very nicely done and no complaints. Moving on to the wings. Here are the wings. They're painted a very bright white color. Not very much visible printed detail, or there is a lot of printed detail, but it's very hard to see. And there's this interesting marking that's present on both the left and right wing, so not exactly sure what that is, but it looks pretty cool, and I'm going to hope that it's accurate. I assume that it is. Lots of molded detail as well. Looks pretty solid. And if we go to the underside of the wing, on the underside of the right wing, there is no printed detail, but on the underside of the left wing, there's the aircraft's registration. So that's very nice that NG included that. The raked wingtips also look really good. Here's the one on the left side, and here is the one on the right side. Looks really good. Now here we are at the rear of the aircraft. Here we can see the horizontal stabilizers and the APU. These look pretty good. Molded detail back here looks good. Interesting that they put some printed detail on here, and molded detail, it's not as much, but I'm glad that they put some printed detail back here. APU looks pretty good. No complaints or anything back here. All of it looks pretty nice. Now time for the engines, and also the source of most of my complaints. So the engines look really good. Shape looks really good. So does the exhaust. Okay, holy cow, they did a really good job on the engines. I'm just looking at them now. There's a lot of printed detail on them. Fan blades look good as per usual. Oh my god, look, there's a lot of printed detail down here. It's catching me off guard. No complaints overall on the shape and the painting here. Oh, there's our first problem. The exhaust nozzle on the right engine is kind of pointed down. Oh, it's loose. Oh, okay, that's interesting. It looks like it can be glued back into place, so looks like it wants to break free. So okay, I'll slow it down with the Queen references. It looks very loose, so I'll have to glue that back into place, but that's an unpleasant surprise. Next issue I had with the engines was, this is more of opinion based. It's not really anything against the model itself, but the fact that the back part of the engine here, like the reverse thrust cover, is painted gray. Now, this isn't present on the box art, and I'll show you the box art right now. So you can see the engines, they're painted all white, and that's what I expected until I saw the actual images of the model. And this is accurate to the final configuration of this aircraft when it flew for Norwegian. This aircraft is no longer painted in this livery, unfortunately. It now flies for Norse, if I remember correctly. But just before it was painted to the Norse livery, it had these covers on the engines, and that's accurate, but it doesn't really look the best in my opinion. However, NG did still do a very good job of dividing the white color and the gray color, so I'll give them some credit for that. Now for aerial features, this model features both Wi-Fi domes and antennas. I believe there are 4 antennas on this aircraft and 1 Wi-Fi dome. At the front section of the aircraft, we have a pretty small antenna. I'm not sure if that's too small or not, but it looks pretty small. And the Wi-Fi dome, these look pretty good. The alignment's good. Placement of the Wi-Fi dome is kind of leaned towards the right side of the aircraft. The antenna is perfectly vertical, so I'm not sure what happened with the Wi-Fi dome there. That's been happening with a lot of airplanes recently. There's 2 antennas to the rear of the aircraft. These look good as well. And of course, there's 1 sneaky little antenna on the bottom section of the aircraft here too. I'll transition directly to the bottom of the aircraft. Here is the bottom. You can see a lot of printed detail down here, as well as the Norwegian.com. Looks pretty good. No complaints down here. Lots of detail. Looks pretty solid. Landing gear time. So here's the nose gear. Nose gear looks pretty good. Wheel rolls. No complaints here. I don't really see any issues with it. Yeah, the nose wheel. The nose wheel and nose gear looks really good. Here are the main gear. Same can be said about the main gear. The wheels roll nicely, and there's a pretty decent amount of detail to them, and there's no issues with the molds, so that's very nice. Alright, so here's the front of the aircraft. Here we can see the wing flex, gear balance, and the cockpit window printing. Overall, wing flex looks pretty good. If anything, the wings might be bent down a little too much. Yeah, they're almost parallel to the ground, and it looks pretty solid, so nicely done on NG's part. Unfortunately, I do notice a little bit of an issue with either the gear balance or the wings itself, or the wings themselves. The left wing, this wing, seems to be bent up more than the right wing. I'm not 100% sure if that's actually the case, or it might be gear balance. It's just something that I noticed, so that's kind of weird. Wing flex on the horizontal stabilizers looks pretty good. Gear balance looks pretty solid, unless it's an imbalance, like I said. And cockpit window printing seems to align pretty well. And something just feels a little bit funny about staring at the airplane at this view. Just the red color of the fuselage looks pretty cool. So that concludes the review portion of this video. If I missed anything, feel free to drop down any questions you have down below in the comment section. I didn't really find very much to talk about either, just overall, very good quality all around. Also, I should have given you guys the heads up. This is my personal opinion. Overall, very good quality all around. Printing looks really good. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Aside from the engines, that's not really quality. But the engine coloring decision, that was very questionable in my opinion, but it's still pretty good nonetheless. So, time for my personal opinion, or my recommendation. I already gave you my opinion. So, yes, I do absolutely recommend this model to other collectors. This model will definitely rock you with its appearances. It looks really nice. Quality's been pretty consistent with this model and this batch overall. So, yes, I recommend it. Try and get yours. I really like the fact that they did the Freddie Mercury tail, since I am a huge fan of the Queen band, and if you're a Queen fan, then I think you'll like this model as well. So I recommend it, and if you want to buy it, go for it. Thank you so much for watching. That concludes the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below about what you thought of this video, any ways I can improve, and any questions you may have. That's all I have for today. Stay tuned for more airplane content, as well as an announcement about the channel's future that I have coming shortly. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.